Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Neil C. Hughes, and today we've got a fantastic guest lined up for you. His name is Michael Messele, and he is the co-founder and CEO of the Pillar project, where he leverages innovations built on the decentralized economy. But he's also the CEO of Etherspot, which is an all-in-one EVM-compatible framework and a much-needed game-changing innovation in cross-chain asset transfers and Web3 user experience. But what does all that mean? Or as they would say on Reddit, explain it to me like I'm five. Well, we're going to take a deep dive into this today, but in a language that everyone can understand. So today we'll be talking about how to create a frictionless Web3 user experience, ways to get millions of people into the DeFi space, and why it's so crucial. And we'll also discuss onboarding Web2 developers into Web3 and while DAOs, Decentralized Autonomous Organizations, should be the future decision makers of product development in the blockchain space. It's a conversation you're not going to want to miss. We're not going to leave anyone behind. We're going to put it in a language everyone can understand. So buckle up and hold on tight, because no matter where you're listening in the world, we're going to beam your ears all the way to London here in the UK, where you can sit down with me and Michael as we explore the world of Web3 and much more. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Thank you. I'm Michael Messele. I'm from Etherspot as well as Pillar project, and my background is a technologist/finance. Most of my career has been in the City of London, then just doing finance as well as technology stuff, working for financial institutions. And I ran into crypto a while back, and in 2017 we set up a project called Pillar Project. The whole aim was to make to give us the ability to control our data, and that morphed itself into Pillar Wallet, and that is the beginning of controlling our data, in this case our financial data. But the ultimate aim or dream was any data that we generate in our digital in our digital space, we should control it. Why should some other company, by giving me Big Brother house type of access into, say one of the social medias, they give you access like living in the Big Brother house, they give you a little bit of accommodation, some food, but everything is televised.
Yeah.
The same happens with the social media access, where you get given, say, your friendship network like Facebook, but everything you do is monitored more than you know, and it's monetized. So we are the commodities. So I got into crypto for this type of things, and we created a wallet. Then now we've got Etherspot. From that wallet, we took out a chunk of it, the back end, which makes life easier by using smart contract technologies and giving Web3 a Web2-like UX. And Web3 is the right term, as the progression of Web 1 to Web 2, then to Web 3. And we can tell which one is which. Web 1 being static websites where we used to visit. And you and I are old enough to know the early generation websites where you can go. My first one was SoccerNet. I used to go to SoccerNet to read about football.
Yeah, takes me back hearing those stories. And I think in many ways you were very ahead of your time, because I think now everyone's kind of conscious about, if you're not, if something's for free, then you are the product. And all these different sites, whether it be Google, Facebook, or any social platform, you're always being watched, and that data is used and sold by other companies. So I do like to try and demystify some of this world, though. And Michael, I suspect there's a lot of people listening, hearing about Etherspot for the very first time. So can you just tell me a little more about the problems you're aiming to solve in the Web3 space right now? I mean, you gave a hint about a few of those areas now, but for someone just hearing about Etherspot for the first time, what would you say about that?
I did give a hint, and I was a little bit worried about going too technical for the audience, and I was wondering, okay, how do I gauge the audience? Are they a Web3 audience or they're not a Web3 audience? But let me try and demystify it and try and make it as natural as possible. So what Etherspot does is a deep tech, a technology solution to what we have. So when we talk about Web3 in general, in its current form, we access it using wallets, crypto wallets, digital Web3 wallets. And for them, you have to have this laborious way of signatures. You have to have this laborious way of recovery phrases, which you have to keep. Then you store your assets in there, and if you lose them, we tell you, you are your own bank. There is no one to save you. If you lose them, don't lose them. And we even offer you, oh yeah, these are hardware wallets. You can store your assets safely. And these are glorified memory sticks that anyone can just slap and take it away from you. So all your assets in those. So what we are doing with Etherspot is coming up with the technology to make this far easier for you to be able to log in using your social login if you want to do so. For you to have two-factor authentication. When you log in with some device, you have another way of confirming, maybe your email, your other phone. Things such as, if I lose my phone, I can recover it through my laptop or through another person I nominated. Abilities to not depend on those recovery phrase or type of things. However, still enabling you to self-control your data. And we go further. Usability in Web3 is still lagging. The reason why I say that is for everything you do, you have to sign. Every little thing. Say as good as if I go to Amazon and I add things on my shopping cart and I say, oh, I've added a toothbrush, I added a book, let me go and look for another thing. If this was Web3, I would have to log out and log back in type of thing because I have to connect to another network. This again is a barrier to adoption. The average person has no time to be dealing with this or learn about this. In fact, my typical example is I'm a pizza delivery driver. The whole day I'm riding my bike, delivering my pizza, and I've made some £40 a day. Let me go and try and see this DeFi thing. Let me just try and invest something. I don't want to learn about how your system works. Just make me able to just click on it and I give you my £40 and I'm your investor. Treat me like one. So Etherspot makes it easy for any DApp, decentralized application, to integrate this functionality so that they behave like Web2. They behave like your Amazon. Log into Amazon. Behave like logging into Google. Or you can use those accounts if you wanted to give you, to minimize those quite many transactions that you have to do, to not even worry about the gas price I am paying. For instance, one of the things about wallets is you buy something, oh, this is going to cost you this gas. If you are on a different network, you happen to go to a different EVM chain, oh, you need this token to pay for the gas. It is like saying to me, imagine you've just gone to the US and you ordered Uber. It is like the Uber app saying to you, oh, you're from the UK. Okay, these are the exchange rates between pound and dollars. This is the Bank of America. This is the Barclays. This is the Citibank. Can you please select which exchange rate and go to that thing and exchange your money because you know the driver gets paid in dollars. That is what Web3 says, but Uber app normally handles this for you. So even though your Uber account is connected to your British pounds account, you have no care in this world when you are in the States. You just driver from this location to that location. So that is what Etherspot is doing. Does it kind of make sense what I said?
Yeah, and you illustrated it absolutely perfectly. And I think every single person listening to this podcast is going to be surrounded by technology without even realizing it, whether that be Spotify telling you what band you're probably going to like, what song you might like to listen to next. Netflix will tell you what the TV series is right up your street, and Amazon will tell you what you want to buy next. But behind the scenes, under the hood, is loads of complex algorithms making sense of all that so it understands what you will need. But as a user, you don't need to know any of that stuff. You've got no interest. So
100%. I'm not getting paid to know that. I've got my day job delivering pizzas. So why do I need to know your job?
And another phrase that's been floating around a lot, and when I heard this, I was really glad to get you on and make sense of it as well, and that is account abstraction. It's a term that's been floating around a lot recently. So can you explain what that means and how Etherspot is leveraging it to ultimately create that frictionless Web3 user experience that we were just talking about?
Exactly that. I mean, technology space works in fads and bandwagons, and account abstraction is the new phrase. And abstracting accounts, which is accounts ownership, this decentralized wallet, abstracting them and making them less laborious, as I've mentioned earlier on, has been around for a while. So the whole term is effectively what I described to you earlier. Yes, I have a wallet, but at the moment, one wallet connects to everything. Say, for instance, I have a specific wallet and I connect it to a marketplace to buy NFTs or something, and I use the same wallet and connect that to a DeFi marketplace to do decentralized finance. The issue here is there is no sub-account system within there. When I connect my account to a specific dApp, if there was someone hacking me, I would have given them access to the whole account. What if in this account I could do sub-accounts? What if I could do limit orders within the sub-accounts and say, when I connect to this marketplace, I'm using this sub-account and it's got a limit order of this much anyway. In case it gets compromised, I am safer. I will draw another analogy for you. Nowadays in the UK, we have become so used to using contactless cards. Before then, we used to go in. In fact, I'm from the older generation where you used to put in the card and the guys run that machine on the card, then the card reader, then you sign, then it was chip and pin. Now the contactless, all I do is flash it, get my beers and go. Obviously, there is a spending limit with it. There is a spending limit because some other person with a card reader, in theory, can come and stand behind me when the card is in my wallet and take the minimum out. But there is the risk of being hacked like that versus the ease of use. So we use contactless card. So the spending limits, this abstraction of all these details that you have to do, so many steps, is what account abstraction tries to achieve in the crypto world, in the Web3 world. So abstracting the complexities, but without compromising data ownership. That's the key point. Users, we control our data. That's what makes Web3 Web3. When I do something, I'm in control of my data. If I want to monetize it, it would be up to me. At the moment, we only see it in the buying or selling NFTs or buying or selling digital asset. As more and more services come online, imagine you have the Web3 version of Facebook. You have the Web3 version of all the other social media or activities you partake, where you control your data, and the account abstraction is the key enabler here. In that I own my data, but the details are abstracted away. Just like the contactless card abstracted a layer of banking technology as well as banking infrastructure, merchant banks, and quite a lot of 8 or 7 layer of banking infrastructure that is abstracted away. That is what account abstraction is trying to achieve in this space as well. I hope I'm making sense.
No, you did it absolutely beautifully. And I think you put it in a language that everyone can understand. And that's something I try and do every day on here. And what I find exciting is there is a huge potential for millions of people to start participating in the DeFi space. But currently, onboarding does remain a significant hurdle. So is there anything you can expand on around the strategies you're putting in place at Etherspot to implement to help simplify this process?
Yes. I mean, again, I did touch upon it on my opening. So the whole point is, it is really, in all honesty, it is inaccessible, the Web3 world at the moment. You have to know what you're doing. You have to dedicate a lot of time. It is error prone. So when I log into a specific, let's say I connect, there are 6-7 EVM chains that I want to use. Right now, if I connect to one and I want to connect to the other one, I have to disconnect my wallet and do a switch to connect to the other one. And if I have to do a cross-chain transaction, meaning, let's say I have an asset, some digital asset, say stablecoin USDC on Gnosis chain, and I see an opportunity on a service which is a decentralized app on, say, Polygon, and I say, oh, I want to stake and invest in that, the current process could take me up to 9 signatures for me to go from this to that. And that is a massive barrier. I have to sign things, then I have to know, I have to bridge my asset, because when you talk about USDC, which is stablecoin dollar equivalent, the version of USDC on Gnosis chain is different to the one on Polygon. It is like saying, if I give you £5 coin, £5 in the UK, and I happen to run across you in New York, and I owed you another £5, and if I were to give you £5, that £5 that I would give you are 2 different types of £5. That's it, because this is £5 for the UK, £5 for the US kind of thing. That's the implementation right now. So with this, what we are doing is, why do the people have to do all this when the system can do it for them? All we would need is their signature. And if there are 6, 7 instructions to make this journey happen, what we've done is we allow you to sign once, and we use that signature multiple times so that the user is not inconvenienced for the technical details. So that is basically mimicking how Web 2 works in terms of the usability. So just for the users, Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, Web 1 is static. Web 2 is the crowdsourcing aspect of the web's development, where we've seen the Facebooks, the forums, all these things where individuals, the YouTubes, individuals started uploading their content. And Web 3 is the progression of that. You can do the static side, you could upload your own content, but you own it. Because right now, you upload your content. If it is a YouTube video, YouTube own it. If it is a tweet, Twitter hold it in. Whereas with Web 3, you own it, and they can't even stop you from doing it, kind of thing. So having that self-sovereignty, but making it as usable as the one we know in the Web 2 world, then that's what Etherspot is doing as well.
And of course, if we were to take a look under the hood at the kind of technology that's going to bring this vision to life, as Steve Ballmer would have said 20 years ago, the future's all about developers, 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 developers. And from your perspective, what are the main challenges those Web 2 developers face when trying to transition into a more Web 3 environment? And how are you guys at Etherspot supporting them during this transition too?
Well, number one, there are a lot of jargons and a lot of fuzz, and every day that goes, there is a new tool, new way of working being developed. So the barrier is understanding the decentralized ecosystems and this decentralized technologies, because in the Web 2 world, we all communicate to databases and a few facades abstracting away the databases, but ultimately that's how we do it. When it comes to the Web 3 world, because it does have this element of data ownership, and there is signatures, cryptography based communications, but it doesn't mean every developer has to be cryptography expert. But in terms of the smart contract technologies, it takes a different twist, because because I was talking to a couple of my friends the other day who I used to work in one of the financial institutions with. And in my older days where I used to write code, and we used to write code for banks. And then I thought to myself, you know what? These people in the Web 3 world, every other day their code is being hacked. And I thought they're amateurs. But the more I thought about it, hang on a minute. Any bit of code I wrote when I was working for a bank, nobody saw that code apart from that specific thing. Mm. Whereas when you write a smart contract, as soon as you publish it, it is out there in the wild. Any mistake you make, whatever minute, someone else can take advantage of it and hack it. So you are exposed in a way more than you can ever imagine. So getting used to that, you write a code and release it. You can't take it back. So all the audits you have to do, all the understanding you have to have on a lower level, because calling this method before this method might give an attacker an avenue to exploit it, type of thing. So what we've done with Etherspot in regards to making it easy for developers is we created what we call Transaction Kit. Transaction Kit is a React library. This React library works in just writing tags, just like HTML tags, but React tags. With this React tags, if you have a specific UI, it auto-generates the code that you need to take advantage of account abstraction. It is, number one, way quicker for you to do it. A Web 2 developer can just pick it up and wrap it with tags and the code is generated for them. Number two, you make less errors because whatever the code generates for you is a lot more reliable than someone like me experimenting. So that is one of the biggest things we've done. And also we have an SDK. So an SDK is a development kit that any team can integrate with us to leverage the account abstraction solution that we have. So this transaction kit solution abstracts that complexity of the SDK. We also have created a widget that any dApp can integrate, and they can source liquidity from other EVM chains, which means a user, irrespective of which chain that they have their asset on, they can just participate in a transaction on any of the 14 or 15 chains we support without having a care in the world where they have their funds from. All the details of them moving the asset from one chain to the other one, paying for the gas on the other one, is abstracted away. Hence, account abstraction in action.
Wow, incredibly cool. And of course, the role of decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs, in this decision-making process of product development in blockchain space is an incredibly fascinating concept. So can you expand on why you believe DAOs should be at the forefront of these decisions? Again, just for anyone outside of the industry, maybe a business leader listening.
I mean, DAOs are a work in progress, an emerging way of management of businesses. In a way, let's say take Facebook. There is a company called Facebook. It is owned by the shareholders, maybe 1,000, 10,000, however many shareholders that there are. And the shareholders are represented maybe in a general meeting once a year or something. And institutional investors probably are the ones that go to the shareholding meetings. Flip it to DAOs. A company owned by a DAO, effectively every person that has a governance token on that company, effectively, number one, they have ownership. Number two, they do have decision-making powers. So the decision-making could be, let's go in this direction. You have a say. So what that entails is your customers become your owners. Because one of the aspects of the DAOs is they might decide on sending a portion of the revenue to the DAO members, people that make decisions. If you are an active member making decisions, maybe you'll be getting X amount of the revenue. So it incentivizes owners to be customers, to behave like owners as well. So it brings a different view to it. And you might say, and in fact, I was on a stage in New York, NYC NFT, and the guy next to me asked the question, how many of you guys have iPhones? And I was surprised, pretty much the whole of America rose and they all have iPhones. I said, okay. Then they asked, how many of you guys were on the Apple Discord discussing the product direction? No one did. So now it goes pretty much against what I was saying to you guys, but there are certain projects that do require involvement of the masses in terms of the direction. And there are certain areas where professional people tasked with their expertise can lead. Say, for instance, let's say it is iPhone, and iPhone wanted to have a certain feature. It doesn't necessarily mean because I have a vote, I know what feature will be the right product fit, a product that complements other products that you have, and emergent technology fit, all those things. Whereas people that are experts, that work on it day in, day out, probably know a lot more about it than I do. So getting the balance right, just because I can vote, not everything should be given for me as a governor to vote, but there are certain aspects. In fact, recently talking to a big marketplace, and one of their features or the product suite is what you call oracles. Oracles are basically where you find the data feeds effectively in the Web2 world. How do I get accurate data? Now, this data feed, they want to make it decentralized and the governors to vote. Why? Because you may decide how often to update the data, which other data sources to plug in. It's got a lot of variables where community will benefit from having exposure and decision making. So DAOs, depending on the business you are in, it is a change of mindset. Your customers become stakeholders, and your customers that are stakeholders would be championing your product as well. Not just as a user, but as people that potentially by using it, they would earn rewards for it as well.
And I'm curious, as this blockchain space evolves, how do you see that relationship between DAOs and traditional product development structures evolving? Presumably, it's going to get much stronger and quicker than many will imagine, right?
You would think so, but there is the legal aspect. Just because I have pseudonymous account and I can vote on something, it doesn't necessarily make it legal. And I can see in current DAO implementations, it's been recorded in even a recent case where a certain DAO invests on another DAO, and they are as a seed investor. Then halfway through, some of the community say, no, they've not been contributing to us growing, so let's give them their money back. And the DAO votes to give the money back. But the team could not, because it's a legally binding contract. They are seed investors now. The team running it and the DAO have a different audience. These guys are pseudonymous people. No, we voted, the community spoken. And these are saying, yeah, the community spoke, but I'm legally held liable. So these guys had to get together and offer a compromise, and they gave that company that invested in the seed 10 times what they first invested, and they went away. So there is that, what the community says and what the law says, and also understanding for that specific product or community, what is the most sensible thing to vote on, and what are things to be left alone to the operation team or to the people that have the expertise. Say, imagine if it is something to do with producing, say, medical product, which I have no clue about, but I'm a governor and I'm saying, no, you should have the heart monitor versus, what would I know?
Yeah.
So maybe I'm the wrong audience to be in that community in the first place. Maybe it's medically orientated people should have been members of that community. I don't know. But this is a change that is happening, and we're working through these things as we progress.
And if you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company listening, maybe they're not familiar with the workings of Web3. And I think from the outside looking in, it can seem incredibly complex, challenging, overwhelming, daunting, and all those kind of things. So how are you at Etherspot ensuring that users can benefit from Web3 without necessarily understanding the intricate details of its operation? We've almost come full circle here, because that's exactly what we're talking about at the very beginning. users and business leaders, etc., they don't want to know how it works, but almost what's in it for me, what value is in it for me. So how are you ensuring that?
Yes. I mean, if I was leading a Fortune 500 company in a traditional company, I'd probably think, oh, it's just a bunch of kids messing around with some technology and they think they've got it figured out. I'd probably be so dismissive as well, depending on certain circumstances. But what we are trying to do is try and show beyond the technical aspect. Because that's why I mentioned Web 1, Web 2, Web 3 and try to define it. Evolution of the internet, the change that is coming afoot. So all those companies that said, no, I've got a brick and mortar shop when the Web 1 guys came. Then e-commerce blew up. Oh, there's this thing called Amazon. We're closing down our shops. Then everyone, oh, let's build a website. Then everyone, oh, crowdsourcing of information. Oh, let's all have a Facebook account. Oh, what do they? It's the progress.
Yeah. Mobile apps. That was another one. Everyone had to build a mobile app, right?
Exactly. Yep. And the same thing is happening with data ownership when people are becoming more and more aware. If I can keep my data and use the services and I can sell you my data, it is my choice. Because if I want specific information targeted to come to me, I may have to share my data, but I share my data with certain caveats. Okay, as an organization, you take my data and monetize it. Maybe I get paid as well for it. So what I would say to Fortune 500 companies is don't slip on this. Ownership of data is the next battleground.
100%.
And being serving your customers with data integrity and figuring out how you can still sustain your business without controlling that data would be the next phase of the web development. So don't slip on it, guys.
Yeah, completely with you on that. And I think everyone can agree that Web3 is not going anywhere. And as we look to the future, I'm curious, where do you see Etherspot in this evolving landscape of Web3? And what are your plans for the upcoming years? I'm conscious we've talked about everything in a language everyone can understand, but we might have a few loyal members of your community listening, maybe hoping for a teaser or two as well. So is there anything you can share with us about what to expect in the future?
I will ask you one thing. How much do you know about the SMTP protocol? You can say no if you don't know about it.
Oh, it just takes me back to my configuring mailboxes in Outlook.
There you go.
Back in the day.
The reason why I asked about that, not many people know about POP3 service on SMTP, and nor should they bother to know about it.
Yeah.
But without those protocols, there would be no email service. When we call, oh, where's my Gmail? For all those things, without those protocols. And Etherspot ultimately would end up being like those. The things that you use, but you don't know that you are using because they are just in the fabric of your day-to-day modern technology usage. So Etherspot will be doing that. And in fact, I can't mention their names, but a big telco company is doing a POC with us where they are using our smart wallets for them, integrating them with IoT devices. And these IoT devices would be linked to your electric car, electric motorbike, maybe your fridge. And when your electric car drives and stops at a traffic light and the traffic light has a charger going, your car can automatically charge for however many minutes is stationary. And that wallet would facilitate the payment without the driver being asked. So the IoT device in the car communicates to the charger. And imagine your fridge has this IoT device and a wallet, and somehow it communicates with the local shop, and the local shop looks at all these fridges in the area and says, oh, it is Friday and all these fridges used to have beers, but they've gone down, so I should stock up maybe the amount of beers that I have. So this is the evolution that we're talking about. And this is what one of these telco companies is doing a POC with, in experimenting how these things will pan out. Maybe the next generation, 10 years, 5 years, maybe closer than that. I mean,
well, you had me at self-stocking beer fridge there, but I suspect I can almost hear your community chat going off now, light bulb moments going off everywhere. It's a hell of a teaser to leave us with. And I think for business leaders on that side of things, it can be incredibly daunting, and there's a real pressure on everyone, every single person listening, to be in a state of continuous learning to try and keep up to speed with the pace of a technological change. So I've got to ask, as someone right in the heart of this space who's even further ahead than most people, where or how do you self-educate and keep up to speed with the trends?
It is tough. Sometimes you're chasing your own tail. The thing that you knew to be fact today, 2 weeks down the line, it's no longer fact. Someone was hacked.
Yeah.
But one of the things I do is follow newsletters. And in the Web3 space, Twitter has become the place where you get fast information. You've seen companies go out, be established, reach $1 billion, and go down before Google even indexed them. So current news. And also you cannot underestimate the value of books and underlying theories and technology understandings to bed yourself with some of the principles, but up-to-date information, current affairs. In fact, a good source of knowledge, register to the Etherspot newsletter. Seriously, I was reading it myself earlier and I'm thinking, wow, these guys are doing well. So these sort of things then would highlight things to you where you can go do further research. Because the newsletters put in, a certain research done by X, Y. They spark something in your thinking. You say, okay, let me go and do more research on this thing. But continuous learning, without it, you will be left behind. And then again, what's the point in living if I'm not learning something?
Yeah, amen to that. And for anyone listening, just wanting to find out more information about Etherspot and everything that we've talked about today, there are that many domain names out there at the moment. Where's the best place of finding out more about Etherspot? Maybe joining your community. What's the best starting point for everything?
I think one of the easiest things is just type in Etherspot, ETHERSPOT in Twitter. You will have all our details. And if you are even more inclined to type more things, type in etherspot.io. That would take you to our website where you would have all the information you would need. And registering to our newsletter, go into our Discord, you would find all those information in there as well.
Well, we covered a lot in a short amount of time today, from how to create a frictionless Web3 user experience through implementing account abstraction, how to get millions of people into the DeFi space, how to onboard Web2 developers into the Web3 world, and so much more. And I think one of the things most appealing to me is we did it all in a language everyone can understand, so anyone can use Web3 without actually knowing how it works. I think that is a big thing that we're hearing about right across the industry at the moment. But more than anything, Michael, just a big thank you for sharing your story today.
And I really appreciate it, and I love the way you summarized it. And if you did ask me to summarize it, I would have been lost. But obviously you were listening.
So a massive thank you to our special guest, Michael, today for sharing his insights in this discussion on the challenges and opportunities in that transition from Web 2 to Web 3. It isn't going anywhere. It doesn't matter how many people bury their heads in the sand. It's happening. It's evolving before our very eyes. I think we're seeing that. And from account abstraction to DAOs, I think we did cover a lot of ground, and I hope our conversation left you with a slightly better understanding in the current state of the decentralized economy, and also the art of the possible, what the future might hold. And for me, Michael's expertise and dedication in this space, from leading the Pillar project to Etherspot, have shown how innovation and technology can create a more inclusive and empowering digital world. So Michael is certainly one to watch as we navigate the future of blockchain and Web3 space. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything we talked about today. If you'd like to come on the show, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. But for everyone listening, please just keep exploring the world of technology. Stay curious. But a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.